Kia ora and welcome to our Aotearoa Rugby League check-in, the midweek edition. We have all Warriors teams playing in Australia once again this weekend. Last week the Broncos game was in Brisbane. The Warriors also played the Sea Eagles in New South Wales Cup and Jersey Flegg Cup. And the NRLW Warriors were in Sydney against the Tigers. This weekend, all three men's teams are playing against the Rabbitohs, and the women, they're playing against the Roosters. And the Roosters are the best team in NRLW. They're 7-0. They do have a bunch of Aotearoa wrinkles, along with the Rabbitohs that I will be talking about later in this video. But quick shout out to the Rabbitohs women's program, because that's where we do have some Warriors squad members playing once again. Ocean Tierney's on the wing. Matakino Gray is on the bench. So shout out to the Rabbitohs for their connection with the Warriors in the women's pipeline. We've also seen Asha Talmoipiao-Williams play for the Rabbitohs this year, and Natalia Hickling, the young Aussie half, she has been in the Rabbitohs squad as well. But this week we just have Tierney on the wing and Matakino Gray on the bench. The Warriors versus Rabbitohs game, to me, is a very interesting battle for the Warriors defense, because basically, we won't go through all the nitty gritty of the stats, but the Rabbitohs are basically first or tied first or second for line breaks, tries, try assists, line break assists, and they're actually not in the top half of the NRL for other attacking stats like tackle breaks per game, offloads, and post-contact meters. So if you're building this picture of the Rabbitohs in your imagination, there's not a lot of tackle breaks, there's not a lot of post-contact meters, there's not a lot of offloads compared to other NRL teams, and yet the Rabbitohs are one of the best teams as far as try scoring and line breaks. They're actually tied with the Warriors for tries per game, and I think they're by themselves at the top of the charts for line breaks per game. But the Warriors are second for both of those things, tied for tries, second for line breaks, and the Warriors are pretty highly ranked in every stat, which reflects their position as one of the best NRL teams. But unlike the Rabbitohs, the Warriors are pretty damn good at defense. So the Warriors and Rabbitohs, excellent attacking teams, slightly different methods, but the Warriors are a better defensive team. This is evident in the points scored and conceded per game. The Warriors are scoring on average 28.8 points per game. The Rabbitohs are scoring 27.4 points per game. Very close there. But the Warriors are conceding 15.7 points per game. The Rabbitohs are conceding 23.5 points per game. And the way the Rabbitohs attacking stats are laid out, it does feel like they just poke holes in the defensive line. They find a gap, and then whether it's Cody Walker, whether it's Jaden Sullivan, whether it's Matthew Duffy, whoever it is, Tallis Duncan bursting through the line, David Fafita putting someone in space. There's a lot of playmaking skill, and it seems like the Rabbitohs, and of course they have fantastic attacking shape, so they can get the ball to Alex Johnson on the outside in space. They can put Tallis Duncan into space. They can have Jai Gray finding space as well. So again, they're not a huge tackle busting, offloading, post-contact meters team, and yet they are the best try-scoring, line-breaking team in the NRL, featuring a little bit of the Warriors there in that mix as well. So the Rabbitohs, that tells us that the Rabbitohs are excellent at finding space and putting blokes into space, because they're also pretty well ranked in decoy runs. They got the second most decoy runs per game per NRL.com. And there was another one, the line engaged. They're also fourth for the most line engagements per game. So lots of decoy runs, engaging the line, putting blokes into space. And when you factor in, they're not like a dominant post-contact meters team, and some more of those stats like the tackle busting and whatnot, I kind of feel like the Rabbitohs can have those line breaks. They can roll out their shape from anywhere on the field, and they can do it without having to steamroll the opposition to build momentum, which is all about the craft of their players, specifically Cody Walker, but also Latrell Mitchell. Obviously, if he plays, he's going to be in that group as well. So this all amounts to a very interesting defensive assignment for the Warriors. And at this stage of the season, it is a great matchup for the Warriors because they've shown themselves to be an excellent defensive team all season. But this challenge is going to be slightly different to some other challenges they've faced this season specifically. And if the Warriors defense is as good as we think, if the Warriors are as good as we think this year, they will need to shut down the Rabbitohs and show that defensive ability against a team that loves to move the ball and find gaps, put blokes into those gaps, and they can do it from their own half. So even if the Warriors do their physical domination against the Rabbitohs might still be able to find the gaps and make the Warriors pay for any little slip up. And that does feel different to some of these other games recently, because the Warriors have won these games by simply dominating the opposition physically. Like they overpowered the Titans, and that snuffed out their attacking rates. They overpowered the Broncos, that snuffed out their attacking momentum. And in these games, like they have conceded less than 20 points in 6 consecutive games. The worst Warriors performance recently was against the Bulldogs, and they only conceded 18 points. 6 points against the Tigers, 12 points against the Dragons, 18 points against the Bulldogs, 6 points against the Titans, 12 points against the Panthers, 6 points against the Broncos. That's great defense as far as how many points the opposition are scoring. Especially like the Titans and Broncos, not great NRL teams right now, but they are very vibrant, energetic attacking teams, and the Warriors restricted them both to 6 points. 12 points for the Panthers is pretty damn good considering who's steering that team around in Nathan Cleary. So what I am most interested in for this game coming up on Saturday evening for the Warriors versus Rabbitohs is how the Warriors defense handles a interesting challenge from the Rabbitohs. And I've kind of simplified the Warriors defense to 3 things. You bash them, you fold them, you scramble. And I think that's worked well for the Warriors all season because they've been a fantastic scrambling team, as we saw with like James Fisher-Harris making the tackle against the Panthers a few weeks ago. Big chase and big effort to make a tackle after the Panthers had broke down the Warriors' edge defense. And that seems like it's going to be very important against this Rabbitohs team because the Rabbitohs will have line breaks. The Rabbitohs will probably score a few tries. The Rabbitohs will have patches where they are able to execute their shapes, execute their plays, do what they want to do. And the key thing for the Warriors is going to be their scramble defense. I don't think Taintoa Piki's as good defensively as Shans Nickel-Clockstar, but Taintoa Piki's shown development, he's shown growth in organising the defensive line, communicating clearly with the players around him, his positioning, being able to defend in the front line. But also Taintoa Piki He loves to make a tackle at fullback. So if you do make a break on Taine Tuapiki, right now I'm feeling pretty confident that Taine Tuapiki is going to make that tackle, because I've seen him do it a lot this season, and he does it so well that you know that Taine Tuapiki has been tackling bigger dudes as a fullback his whole life. Because those tackles at fullback are very different to the tackles in the defensive line, obviously. There's no fold him up when you're tackling as a fullback. Taine Tuapiki, his job is to get the runner to the ground. And that means he's making a legs tackle, and he's doing it with perfect execution, good timing. He knows when to dip into the legs. I just feel confident that Taine Tuapiki is going to make a tackle if there is a line break. And that's probably going to help the Warriors in this instance, but they will also need to... Another area of the defensive scheme I'm curious about is the bash him. Because I think that there's a few kicking things here with Chanel Harris-Tavita at halfback and Luke Hansen. Luke Hansen's probably not going to do a whole lot of kicking, so maybe the Rabbitohs will be able to win some territory battles as far as where they start their sets of 6. But I don't really think that matters, because the Warriors' kick chase is going to be as it always is, which is pretty damn solid. And it's not just the kick chase, it's the intent to bash the outside backs in those early tackles. So if Matt Duffy is running the footy, regardless of whether he's catching it on the 10-metre line, 20-metre line, 30-metre line, I don't care where he's catching it, he's going to get bashed. And Alex Johnson, is he a power winger? No, I think the Warriors can bash him. I think the Warriors can bash Campbell Graham as well. Jack Wyden, Tallis Duncan, they're a bit more rugged, a bit more ruthless. But the Warriors' defensive system starts with bashing the opposition, and it's that first contact on the first run. Regardless of where they catch it, where they pick up the ball, if they're getting bashed, then it allows you... Then you can drive them back, you can fold them up, win the grapple, win the wrestle, and suddenly the opposition, the Rabbitohs in this case, they're not making 20 metres on their first 2 runs, 20 metres on their first 3 runs. They might take 3 runs to make 10 metres, and whatever happened on the kick doesn't really matter, because you have put in the effort with your kick chase and trying to bash the opposition in those early tackles. So whether it is that intent to bash some of the outside backs for the Rabbitohs, and good scramble, because I do think the Rabbitohs will make line breaks, but it's whether those line breaks turn into tries and the effort the Warriors have to scramble, make a tackle, but also reset their defensive line. And that is the benefit of having some very mobile forwards, your Stowers Smith and Eddie Iramia Toiava. We've talked about Jacob Laban's defense as well. But it's their ability to get back in the defensive line, reset the defensive line quickly and efficiently, so that a line break doesn't mean that the Rabbitohs score on the next set. So I think it's going to be a very interesting game, and I think if the Warriors can, 20 points is the magic marker for most games the Warriors are playing. If they can restrict any opposition to less than 20 points, I think they can win, aside from what we saw with the Broncos recently and a few other games this season. But right now, given how they're playing, I think they need to keep the Rabbitohs to less than 20 points, which is difficult, but it still allows for 2 or 3 tries from the Rabbitohs. But if the Rabbitohs are scoring 24 points, they might as well be scoring 32 points. Because if they can score 4 tries, they can probably score 6 tries, depending on if Latrell Mitchell's were playing and how they're feeling. But that's how good the Rabbitohs' attacking setup is. So the key thing for me is restricting the Rabbitohs to less than 20 points. And we have seen the Warriors become one of the best defensive teams in the NRL, which is amazing. This is like dreams come true for Warriors fans in terms of how good this team is defensively. But it's going to be a very interesting challenge, different to what we've seen from other teams, like the speed and power of the Titans or the Broncos, the clinical nature of Nathan Cleary, specifically in the last few games. This Rabbitohs team, they have a method, they've got a system, and they find gaps and they plow their way through those gaps on both sides of the field, but also just that set up to their left edge where they do love to attack with Alex Johnson, and also not sure if it's been Tallis Duncan on that left edge recently, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. So this is going to be a very interesting defensive battle for the Warriors, and part of that defensive battle, we do have the halves combination, Chanel Harris-Tavita and Luke Hansen. Luke Hansen, he has not missed more than one tackle in any New South Wales Cup game this season. So he's played 15 games of New South Wales Cup this season, and he's got one missed tackle, just per the official stats, which doesn't include the ineffective tackle stat, whatever. 15 games, he has one missed tackle in 7 games, which means he's got no missed tackles in 8 games. So half of his games this season, he's not missing a tackle. So Luke Hansen, as far as his duty making tackles, he's a small fella, but I think he can do the job. The thing for Luke Hansen will be the decision making, because the Rabbitohs aren't going to, it might be like a David Fafita lining up against Luke Hansen, but Luke Hansen's boys are going to be there backing him up. The challenge for Luke Hansen will be decision-making as the Rabbitohs get through their attacking shape. They got decoys, they got options, they got hole runners, and so Luke Hansen will be tested without the footy in terms of defense, whereas Chanel Harris-Tavita, the curious thing here will be, where does Chanel Harris-Tavita line up? He's named in the halfback position, which based on the Warriors system means that he will be defending on the right edge, and he will be playing both sides of the ruck with Luke Hansen on the left, Tane Tuaupiki on the right edge. That means that Chanel Harris-Tavita has to move from the left edge to the right edge defensively, which is a new combination for him, but he has been fantastic in adapting to different combinations, whether it's 3 different halfbacks, whether it's the different edge forwards, the different centers, the different wingers that Harris-Tavita has played alongside. So he has shown that he can adapt to any role the Warriors require of him, but also his left-footed kicking game best suited to the left edge. But if he's kicking from the right side of the ruck, that's a little less, that's a bit more of a challenge for Harris-Tavita. So watch out for that, kicking with the left foot on the right side of the ruck. The good thing about what might happen is that if Luke Hansen plays on the left edge and plays the typical number 6 role we have seen from the Warriors under Andrew Webster, that is the precise role Luke Hansen has played for most of his time with the Warriors in New South Wales Cup. And Luke Hansen has played 50 games of New South Wales Cup for the Warriors across 3 seasons. And he's got a 72% win record, 36 wins in 50 games. Most of which has been playing as a number 6 who stays on the left edge. And not only is he going to do that exact same role, I believe, unless there's some sort of change, in his second NRL game of his career and this season, but he has proven himself to be very effective in that role. He can do some kicking, but he's mainly a runner, and he gets the ball where it needs to go. Luke Hansen's got 10 plus try assists in all 3 seasons with the Warriors, and he's improved as far as try assists per game in each of those seasons. He's got a fair amount of tries, but he's also a pretty good defender, as I talked about, tackling at 96% in his last 2 seasons, which improved from 90% in his first season. And there's this thing, the Warriors New South Wales Cup team has won 5 games in a row. In these 5 games, Luke Hanson's got 3 tries, 8 try assists, and 3 missed tackles. He doesn't churn out big running stats, but as we saw with the Sea Eagles last week, he spotted a gap and just burst through that hole. So he's an excellent runner, very quick, very dynamic. But this 5-game win streak, 3 tries, 8 try assists, and just 3 missed tackles, hasn't been doing a whole lot of kicking in this period. But this period's also fascinating because the Warriors New South Wales Cup team has won 5 games in a row. Jason Salalilo played... Oh, I just need to confirm this because I think it gets even better. No, Jason Salalilo played 5 minutes in the first game of this win streak. So he's only played 5 minutes in this win streak. Meanwhile, Bishop Neal, Christian Sikuvea, Jeremiah Lamana, and Sio Kelly have not played any of these 5 games in New South Wales Cup that the Warriors have won consecutively. This latest win streak, that is the Riley Price win streak, because Riley Price came to the Warriors and he hasn't lost a game for the Warriors, which is pretty amazing because before coming to the Warriors, Riley Price won 8 of his 11 games with Redcliffe Dolphins, starting in all of them, playing 50 plus minutes in most of them, and that's only increased when he's come to the Warriors. So this year, I think Riley Price has 13 wins in 16 games of reserve grade, which is absolutely mental, and all of his attacking stats have gone crazier since joining the Warriors, even though they were quite impressive at Redcliffe in Queensland Cup. But going back to the local juniors, like these guys are some of the best local juniors the Warriors have. Jason Salalilo, Bishop Neal, Lamana. Bishop Neal and Lamana debuted at 17 years old early in the season for the New South Wales Cup team. Sikuvea has been fantastic, playing edge and middle for the Warriors in New South Wales Cup. Sio Kelly, who knows what's doing there, because he can't hold down a starting position in Jersey Flegg. So I don't know what's doing there, but Sio Kelly has played New South Wales Cup this season. Sio Kelly is a phenomenally talented Warriors junior, but this nugget isn't about those players who haven't played. Yes, they are some of the best Warriors juniors in the system, all of whom have NRL potential. Salalilo was a consistent member of the excellent New South Wales Cup team last season. Bishop Neal's one of the trendiest players in Aotearoa and Australia because he played for Queensland under-19s. All these players are fantastic. Aside from Salalilo's 5 minutes in the first game of the win streak, none of them are featured, and yet the Warriors do have a 5-game win streak in New South Wales Cup. It's nothing negative against those players. It's just more of an observation about the Warriors' depth, where some of their best players aren't playing New South Wales Cup and they can still win games. They can win 5 consecutive games. And some other players who have featured prominently, we talked a lot about them. We got Jylan Nain at centre, Tyson Hanson, Maui Winitana, Patalasi, Makai Tafua, Riley Price. All these guys we know have been fantastic, along with Jacob Auloa in that starting lock position. So, yes, the New South Wales Cup team might not be as good in terms of just like obvious styles. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but compared to last season when they were top of the table, went on to win New South Wales Cup State Championship, they're not that good, but they have been winning games without 5 of the best Warriors juniors, and they've added a few pieces. They've got different guys plugging different holes, and because of what's happening in the halves for the NRL team, Luke Hanson in number 6, Harris Tavita number 7. We now have Jack Thompson moving up to New South Wales Cup. He's in the number 6 jersey, Jet Cleary number 7. And in the under-21s team, so that's an all Aussie halves combination in New South Wales Cup. We've got a half from Aotearoa. I don't want to say Kiwi half because then we're getting into some language that means Kiwis, New Zealand Kiwis, but we know Chanel Harris-Tavita is Toa Samoa. Probably ride or die with Toa Samoa. Like, I don't really see any situation where Harris-Tavita switches to the Kiwis, even though he's from Auckland, from Aotearoa. So he's a Aotearoa half, Luke Hansen's an Aussie half. So you got 1 and 1 there. And we have 2 Aussie halves in New South Wales Cup. But in the under-21s team this week, we have Noah Jensen holding down his number 6 jersey, and Ashton Ulaula Iramia gets selected at number 7 for the under-21s team. I don't know much about Ashton Ulaula Iramia. It's got a cool name, Ashton Rex, on a few channels as well. But here he is, named in the number 7 jersey for the Jersey Flegg Cup team, and I'll keep it simple because this is just what I'm learning. I don't know too much about the lower grades. It gets a bit tricky because a lot of players in the lower grades don't go on to pursue rugby league careers and they're young teenagers. So try to be respectful to young people on their journey through life. But if you're getting into that under 21s grade, now we have to learn a lot more about you, and we have to highlight where you are in the system. And the simplest way I can say this is that he was playing under 17s last year in the Harold Matthews Cup team. Now he's here. I don't think he played under 19 SG ball earlier this year. He's just straight into a number 7 jersey for the under 21s. And he is from Auckland. I think I've found connections to Aotearoa, but also Mount Albert Grammar. He is named to play his first game of the season, I think, for the Warriors. And he's a halfback from Auckland, playing alongside another half from Auckland in Noah Jensen. So Noah Jensen only returned from illness to the Warriors teams a few weeks ago. And he's been consistently named in the number 6 jersey, which has bumped Harry Inch to the number 13 jersey. And even though there's a hole in the number 7 jersey with Jack Thompson going up to New South Wales Cup, Harry Inch stays in the number 13 jersey, and it is Ulaula Iramia named in the number 7 jersey. Neither of those two dudes were in the mix 2 months ago. And this is the crazy thing about the Warriors over the last throughout the year, is how quickly things are changing. Those 5 players I mentioned in the New South Wales Cup group who haven't played recently, they were stacking up games together in New South Wales Cup earlier in the season. Now none of them are playing, probably because they're injured, out of action, and yet the New South Wales Cup team still wins because other players have elevated to those positions. Same thing here with Noah Jensen, Ulaula Iramia. They weren't on the radar a couple of months ago. Now they are the starting halves combination for the Warriors under 21s team. And this is another example of the depth that the Warriors do have in the halves. Yes, they're going to lose Jet Cleary, Luke Metcalf, Luke Hansen. But we know the Warriors have Jack Thompson, a very good Aussie. But they also have some young Kiwis from Aotearoa in the system, obviously here with Noah Jensen and Ulaula Iramia. Interesting, we've also got Harry Inch, a half, playing as a middle forward in the under-21s team, and Maui Winitana Patalaseo. He is the bench utility in New South Wales Cup. He's played in the halves for the under-21s this year as well. So you've got 2 halves named for the under-21s team, neither of whom were in the mix a couple of months ago. But then you've got 2 other halves who have played in the halves for the under-21s who are now playing other positions. So there's good signs of the development system working, because it always throws up players we don't know much about, players that I am learning about and need to be on top of, which is a fantastic example of how effective this development system is for the Warriors. And Let's go into the women's side of things. They will be playing against the Roosters. No changes here aside from Christabel Onisimo Tuilaipa. She seems to be injured. So we've got Mariri Pukatapu coming out of Wellington. She moves to edge forward with Shakira Baker on the other edge. Shakira Baker's been phenomenal this season. And Kaya Atai, I think she finished the game last week on the right edge in place of Christabel Onisimo Tuilaipa, but she stays in the middle, which I think is her best position. We still have Patricia Maliepo at hooker, but this time she's got Jasmine Hudawai on the bench, and it's the big bopper bench of Butler, Lauatiti, Hilmawana, all there as well. But the Roosters are fantastic, and the Roosters are so fantastic that Amber Hall, former Kiwi Ferns forward who has switched to Samoa, which seemed to be related to just the depth of the Kiwi Ferns. So the best thing for her was probably switching to Samoa. But Amber Hall, in her games for the Roosters, she is 25-1. She has one loss in like 4 seasons with the Roosters, 25 wins. Otessa Pule, who has played more games for the Roosters, she is 40-7 in the NRLW with Roosters, and that sharpens to 19-1 in the last 2 seasons with the Roosters. The Warriors, really, I think they need a win. They have been very inconsistent this season. They have inconsistent patches during the game, moments of brilliance, moments of pretty bad rugby league, especially when we're talking marker defense and the speed around the ruck. It's going to be an amazing battle to see if they can overcome this Roosters team that does not lose games. Whether it's Amber Hall, whether it's Otessa Pule, whether it's anyone else of the awesome Roosters squad and the Roosters team, they're damn good at rugby league. Best team in the NRLW right now. It's pretty tricky to see how the Warriors win this game, but that is the challenge ahead of them. And the Roosters do have some women in their system that highlights their development, recruiting players from Aotearoa as well. They have T. Raukura Leaf, who is from Wellington, a Randwick junior. She's been starting at prop in their reserve grade team a lot this season. Lukabele Ongli Natuere is another Randwick junior from Wellington who has been playing for the Roosters this season in reserve grade. They also have Manisha Seebeck from Christchurch in the outside backs. She's around that reserve grade Roosters squad as well. And when you think the Roosters have Jackson Stewart from Christchurch, playing a lot of under 21s while still playing a lot of New South Wales Cup while still eligible for under 21s. He's a Hornby junior from Christchurch. Manisha Seebeck is also a Hornby junior from Christchurch, getting good opportunities in the same position. We've talked a lot about some of these other Roosters players in the system: Charleston Terori, Kanan Magele, Benaya Iowelu. But last week was a very interesting game because the Roosters under-21s team had Tyrone Hurt Pickering in the halves alongside Ryder Williams. Both of them are from Auckland. Both have played for Marist Auckland. So the 2 Roosters halves in under-21s last week are both from Aotearoa. They played against the Panthers, who had Hami Loza in the halves. So Roosters versus Panthers last week under 21s, 3 of the 4 halves in that game are from Auckland, showing the depth available as well as the Warriors under 21s team this week. We know Bronson Rubin's amazing. We've talked about Toko Aitua Owen. There's Jordan Hoteri as well. There's some very good halves in NRL systems. We've also got EJ Mahu Delamere. He's scored 15 tries in 11 games of under-21s. And there's another player, Nathan Lopomawa, coming out of James Cook High School. He has been very impressive like at the schoolboys tournament in Aotearoa, and then moving over to the Roosters as well. Let's get into the Rabbitohs system, because they have, this is a very interesting game because Brandon Smith is playing for the Rabbitohs, and Brandon Smith, he's part of a Kiwis dummy half group with Phoenix Crossland and Jeremy Marshall-King. I think all three are going to be in the World Cup squad. That's all they need, 3 players capable of playing dummy half. Phoenix Crossland can also play in the halves and small forward. Brandon Smith can play as small forward. Brandon Smith, very similar style to Aaron Clark. And then you've got Jeremy Marshall-King, who's a specialist hooker. So I think all 3 will be in the World Cup squad. There are some sort of combination where all 3 could be in the same team. That's a Phoenix Crossland starting in the halves for whatever reason. Jeremy Marshall-King starting a hooker, Brandon Smith on the bench. So there's plenty of depth there. We've also got Edward Cossey on the extended bench for the Rabbitohs NRL team. This week in New South Wales Cup, the Rabbitohs have Moala Graham-Talfa, Bailey Bentley-Hape, Salisi Ata-Ata, and Oliver Lowry. Oliver Lowry, he's always on the extended bench. I think he's from Christchurch, Hallswell Jr. Ata-Ata's from Auckland, Otahuhu Jr. We know Graham-Talfa, Bailey Bentley-Hape is from up north. And the Jersey flag team for the Rabbitohs to play against the Warriors this week has Philip Lavakiaho, Papatoetoe Jr., Tipairoa Winiera from Hamilton, and Kayla Samuel Mangarees Jr., he's on the bench. Kayla Samuel is the only player from Aotearoa and the Roosters teams this week, the men's teams that is, who the Rabbitohs recruited from Aotearoa. So Brandon Smith is he joined the Rabbitohs from the Roosters. Edward Cossey joined the Rabbitohs from the Warriors. Moala Graham-Talfa joined the Rabbitohs from the Warriors. Bailey Bentley-Hape from the Roosters. Salisi Ata-Ata from the Sharks. Oliver Lowry from the Sea Eagles. Lavakiaho was recruited from Aotearoa by the Roosters. Then he moved to the Rabbitohs. Tipairoa Winiera, he joined the Rabbitohs from the Warriors. So all of those players joined the Rabbitohs from another NRL system except for Kayla Samuel. The Rabbitohs recruited him from Aotearoa directly, and that is slightly different to what the Roosters are doing, because a lot of their players, they recruit from Aotearoa. They have like some loose connection to other systems, but most of them have been affiliated to the Roosters the whole time. Like Ryder Williams was with the Knights before moving to the Roosters. Hurt Pickering was with the Warriors. He played SG Ball, I think, for the Warriors. But other guys like Benai Iowelu, Magele, Tirore, Mahu Delamere, Jackson Stewart was with the Warriors. Lopa Maua. All those guys have been in the Roosters system. There's another player, Austin Atun Hotene, who's a Papatoetoe Jr. He was initially with the Knights before moving to the Roosters. So the Roosters, probably thanks to their salary sombrero, and this is where the salary sombrero is most effective. Yes, it's evident in the salary cap and stuff like that. But if you're a rich, wealthy NRL organization, you have more money to invest in the junior system and recruiting players from Aotearoa, putting them in housing, catering to them, like providing food and housing and everything you need to pursue your career. I think the Roosters just straight up have more money to invest in that, and so they can invest that money in recruiting players directly from Aotearoa at a younger age. And this crop of players coming through the Roosters system are doing damn well. Charleston Tirore is 17 years old, playing 10 games in New South Wales Cup. Kanan Magele has been fantastic, playing up the levels as well. These guys are awesome in the Roosters system, and they follow on from like the Nofahu Whites, Salisi Faketi, Siwa Wong, Benai Iowelu group, who the Roosters recruited from Aotearoa, most of them from Auckland, all of them from Auckland. Siwa Wong did have a stint in Christchurch, but These guys were in the Roosters system while they were still in Auckland, and now we're seeing another wave of juniors from Aotearoa come through the Roosters system, including the woman, with Leaf, Ongli, Ngatuere, and Manisha Seebeck as well, rising up through the ranks. But we also have a NRLW debut for Charley Lahmert. Lahmert, I don't know. She's from New Plymouth, Bell Block Junior from New Plymouth. And she is named on the bench for the Newcastle Knights this week as a dummy half. She started this year in under-19s for the Knights. Then she moved up to Women's Premiership. And I think she's scored a couple of doubles in recent weeks, tries from dummy half. She's been so impressive that now she gets an opportunity in NRLW. And the Knights have a bunch of players they've recruited from elsewhere, but they also have some juniors they've developed through their system. First, it was Fane Finau, Aotearoa Junior, who went over to the Knights, worked through the grades at the Knights. And now they've also got Charley Lahmert, who has worked her way through the Knights system as well. This is only increasing. We're seeing more and more women move to Australia and play junior footy and work their way through NRLW systems, along with all the development stuff the Warriors are doing, because there's just so many players, and it's only going to increase as more and more women pursue rugby league pathways. So shout out to Charley Lahmert. The Knights will be playing the Tigers. Racine McGregor was awesome for the Tigers as a Kiwi Ferns halfback last week against the Warriors, and she's been fantastic all season. Also really like what Shanice Monchel is doing for the Tigers. She played edge forward last week against the Warriors. She's back at prop this week. She can play big minutes. She's fast, she's agile, she's powerful. I think Shanice Monchel will be in the upper tier for the Kiwi Ferns this year. So that game's going to feature a lot of Aotearoa flavour, Knights versus Tigers. And I think that's where we will wrap it up for this episode. We'll try and be back straight after the... No, wait, hold on. We do have Colin Patterson as another hooker from Aotearoa to watch out for. He has played 40 plus minutes in his first 2 games in New South Wales Cup for the Bulldogs, moving up from under 21s. And he's named to play his 3rd game at dummy half. Well, he's named for his 3rd game in New South Wales Cup. He's on the bench for the Bulldogs reserve grade team, and he is another good dummy half. Obviously started in the Warriors system before going over to the Bulldogs. And while on the topic of dummy halves, the Warriors NRL team, you got 2 Aussies at dummy half, Wade Egan, Sam Healy. The 4 players I think are dummy halves in the other 2 men's teams, none of them are from Auckland. 3 of them are from Christchurch. One's from Wellington. We got Makai Tafua starting dummy half in New South Wales Cup. Winitana Patalaseo coming off the bench. Then the under-21s team, you got Amasio Tiatia and Rico Lamale playing dummy half in the Warriors Jersey Flegg Cup team. Both of them are from Christchurch, which is a nice little snapshot of the talent coming out of Christchurch, specifically at that dummy half position. And it shows where the Warriors are at in terms of competing for talent coming out of what is a hotbed of rugby league talent right now. Christchurch, Canterbury, and the South Island. Big up. Great Aotearoa Rugby League yarns. We're out here, sun shining, do your best. Enjoy the sporting action, not just rugby league. If you are feeling generous, you can buy me a coffee. You can donate through Buy Me a Coffee. You can also join the Patreon whānau, where we talk a lot of cricket and football. Most of the stuff I'm talking through here is also part of our newsletter, thenishcase.substack.com. Appreciate your eyeballs and eardrums. That's all you need to do. Just have a listen. And we'll be back hopefully after this Rabbitohs game day on Saturday to talk through some more Warriors matters. Church Cowabunga. Talofa.